Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely flip the script on how you view your own anatomy. We constantly misinterpret perfectly healthy, albeit, let's be honest, sometimes kind of embarrassing biological functions as glaring signs that we're somehow broken or malfunctioning. But what if your body's strangest behaviors are actually its greatest humble brags? Seriously, think about it for a second. Do you ever get a little anxious when your joints pop loudly the second you stand up? Or, oh man, when your stomach decides to growl incredibly loudly in the middle of a dead silent room? We've basically been conditioned to think these strange noises, random twitches, and sudden chills are warning signs. But what if we discovered that these are actually incredibly positive indicators of a highly responsive, super efficient machine?
Okay, let's just dive right into this. With a number that might actually surprise you, 23. I know, it's not exactly the glamorous start you were hoping for, but the average, completely healthy person farts up to 23 times a day. Literally. If you're regularly gassing out a room, congratulations. This isn't a problem at all, it's a massive victory for your active microbiome. When you eat fiber, the bacteria in your large intestine ferment it, producing gas as a totally normal byproduct. Honestly, the people who should actually be worried are the ones who never pass gas because it means their gut bacteria are starving or their digestion has just completely stalled out. So hey, embrace it.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with weird flex but healthy. Then the chatty gut. Next up, the highly wired brain. After that, the mechanics of movement. And finally, embrace the quirks.
All right, moving right along to section 1, the chatty gut. Digestive signs of an efficient system.
Have you ever had your mouth just start watering before you've even taken a single bite of food? Well, the fascinating science behind that drool is called the cephalic phase of digestion. When you merely see or even just smell food, your vagus nerve, which is basically the superhighway communicating between your brain and your gut, fires off a signal. Your body is literally ringing the dinner bell. It ramps up acid production and releases saliva packed with an enzyme called amylase to start breaking down carbs. So if your mouth waters before a meal, your gut-brain axis is functioning perfectly.
And this cephalic phase builds right into those noises your stomach makes between meals. That loud, embarrassing growl when you aren't even starving, that is the migrating motor complex. Think of it as your gut's internal self-cleaning oven. Every 90 minutes, when your system is empty, it runs this intense cycle of muscular contractions sweeping through your stomach and intestines just to push out leftover food particles and bacteria. If you graze all day long, this actually never happens, and that can lead to bacterial overgrowth and chronic bloating. So let your stomach growl. It's doing absolutely vital maintenance.
So what happens right after you eat that big meal? Ever notice your hands, feet, or maybe even your nose getting kind of cold? This is perfectly normal, and it's called postprandial blood redistribution. Digestion requires a massive amount of energy, right? So your autonomic nervous system brilliantly deprioritizes your extremities, redirecting all that blood flow straight to your digestive tract. If you get a bit chilly after eating, it simply means your body is effectively switching into rest and digest mode, instead of being stuck in a stressed-out fight-or-flight state.
Okay, let's look at section 2, the highly wired brain, neurological quirks, and deep empathy.
Let's talk about those absolutely bizarre movies your brain plays at night. If you wake up remembering wild, highly detailed, completely nonsensical dreams, like, your old middle school teacher chasing you through a supermarket, don't panic. This is actually a fantastic sign that you're hitting proper, deep REM sleep. REM is the crucial stage where your brain consolidates memories, processes tough emotions, and creatively solves problems. If you never dream, or if your sleep is constantly wrecked by late-night screen time or a few too many drinks, you're missing out on this totally vital cognitive maintenance. Now, moving from sleep to sound, do you ever get literal goosebumps from a really great piece of music? Well, studies from USC and Harvard reveal that if a song gives you the chills, your brain is actually physically structured differently. You have denser neural connections, which means you have more physical pathways between your auditory cortex and your emotional processing regions. The sound triggers a massive dopamine surge that your nervous system responds to physically. So no, you aren't just being sopped. You're quite literally wired for deeper empathy and a way richer emotional experience than someone who feels nothing. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point about empathy. Notice the difference in contagious yawning. If I mention yawning right now and you suddenly yawn, it has almost nothing to do with being tired. It's actually driven by mirror neurons. That's the system in your brain that fires both when you do an action and when you see someone else do it. It's the very foundation of human empathy. And the wild part? People with antisocial personality disorders or psychopathic traits almost never catch yawns. because their mirror neurons simply don't fire the same way. Crazy, right?
Moving right along to Section 3, the mechanics of movement, hardware and nervous system checks. Let's bust some myths here really quick. If you stand up and your body sounds like a bowl of cereal, just relax. Loudly cracking joints usually just mean you have healthy, mobile joints that are being actively used. The sound? It's simply gas bubbles collapsing in the synovial fluid that lubricates your joints. It is absolutely not your bones grinding together. Honestly, the joints you should actually worry about are the ones locked entirely in place from sitting at a desk for a decade that never make a sound at all.
Similarly, what about those super annoying random muscle twitches in your calf or your eyelid? These are called fasciculations. They happen when your nervous system is just a bit overstimulated, often from a hard workout, way too much caffeine, or just everyday stress. And some signals essentially leak out. Athletes get these all the time because their nervous systems are highly primed. If your quad twitches after a heavy workout, that is not damage, it's adaptation. It's literally just your motor units spontaneously firing as they recalibrate.
All right, check out this fascinating statistic. 25%. Only about a quarter of the entire human population experiences our next really weird biological quirk. Do you ever walk outside in a bright sunlight and just immediately sneeze?
If you do, you've got what's called the photic sneeze reflex. Now, for the longest time, science had absolutely no idea why light would ever trigger a sneeze. But the current working theory is that your optic nerve, which handles light, and your trigeminal nerve, which handles facial sensation, run so incredibly close together in your brain that a strong burst of light creates crosstalk. Basically, the trigeminal nerve misinterprets the bright light signal as an irritation in your nose. It's completely useless for sure, but it's a really cool genetic quirk, proving your cranial nerves are wired incredibly tightly and responding super fast to stimuli.
Finally, Section 4, embrace the quirks. Your body is communicating.
Look, we really need to reframe our embarrassment around this stuff. These weird, noisy, twitchy things our bodies do are highly evolved features. They are absolutely not bugs. I absolutely love this quote from our source material regarding passing gas. So the next time someone gives you a look, just tell them your gut flora is thriving. You can playfully own your biology. Whether it's a loud stomach, a sudden yawn, or a twitching muscle, it's just living proof that the complex machinery underneath your skin is responsive, active, and functioning exactly as nature intended.
Which leads me to leave you with this final thought. The next time your body acts weird, makes a totally strange noise, or does something entirely out of your conscious control, will you worry that something is broken? Will you take a step back, maybe smile, and recognize the absolute brilliance of the machine that is working around